meeting here in Seminole County. Today is Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. It's 9:30 a.m. We will begin our meeting with a invocation by Pastor Walter Pearson of the Sanford Church of Christ. Please take a minute and silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices you may have in respect for those attending today. Please rise.
Thank you. I'll be praying in the Christian tradition. If you follow a different tradition, please pray with me according to how you have been raised in your belief system. Almighty God and creator of us all, who loves all of humanity, Father, we pray at this moment that you would bring your attention upon this gathering, that you would bless those, Father, that are going to speak today, that they would do so with tempered words and wisdom, Father, that would be a blessing to all. Father, for the actions that are going to be acted upon, that you would help all those that are involved to be able to complete them with such a way that is going to be a blessing. And Father, we ask that you especially be with those in our community that might not be having a good day. Father, for those that are struggling, that you would bless them and continue to guide our leadership in this county, Father, so that they might be able to help lessen those difficulties. Strengthen all of us, Father. Bless our veterans. Continue to guide and keep watch over our first responders. Keep them all in your care, Father, for they make it possible for us to be able to do what we are doing today. These things we pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Mr. Rick Durr will lead us in the pledge.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Mr. Durr. And if those in the audience would once again please check your electronic devices and silence them or just turn them off. We appreciate it very much. Next, we'll move to our awards presentation and proclamations. The first proclamation will be read by Commissioner Constantine, and this is proclaiming Sergeant First Class Joshua Marsoff, United States Army, as Seminole County's May Veteran of the Month. Commissioner?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I am very honored to move a proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners recognizing United States Army Sergeant First Class and a firefighter of Seminole County, Joshua Marsoff, for his outstanding service to the United States and Seminole County. Whereas the brave men and women of our Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Space Force demonstrate a resolute spirit and unmatched selfishness, reminding us that there are few things more American than giving of ourselves to make a difference in the lives of others. And whereas throughout our country's history, generations of service members have answered the call to leave their families, their jobs, and put their futures and even their lives on the line to valiantly defend our nation. And whereas for many service members, the sacrifices ended in permanent injury or death, yet their spirit remains in the continued preservation of our freedoms and the promise of liberty. And whereas there are more than 30,000 living veterans in Seminole County who served our nation in times of peace and war, through their service they keep America strong. And whereas Sergeant First Class Joshua Marsoff enlisted in the Army in July 2003, serving honorably until 2010. He transitioned to the Army National Guard and is still serving today. He has multiple combat deployments in Iraq, Syria, Qatar, and a communications system specialist for field artillery. In 2005, he was assigned as security to the courtroom for the trial of Saddam Hussein. And in 2010, he provided communications between remote areas of Syria and international command areas, aiding rocket missions and pushing ISIS out of Syria. And whereas Sergeant First Class Joshua Marsoff joined the Seminole County Fire Department in 2015, already having 4 years of experience, He currently heads EMS 1, acting as hospital liaison to ensure patient load is evenly spread among the hospitals and being the point person on high-risk medical calls. He uses his 20-year military experience not only to help county residents, but also to lead the fire department's peer support to not only help county residents, but also to lead the firefighters' peer support team, a confidential resource to assist his department in connecting with needed resources to decompress and talk about stressful events on and off duty. And whereas Sergeant First Class Joshua Marzoff has brought great credit and distinction upon himself, the United States of America, the United States Army, and Seminole County, now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Board of County Commissioners of Seminole County, Florida, express our gratitude, admiration, and respect for Sergeant First Class Joshua Marzoff for his outstanding service to the United States Army and the residents of Seminole County. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation is presented to Sergeant First Class Joshua Marzoff along with our sincere congratulations and recognition as Seminole County's Veteran of the Month, adopted this 14th day of May, 2024.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, carries unanimously. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for the recognition. I appreciate it, really do. I am, like I just said, peer support team lead for Seminole County, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I would just like to ask you all to find a veteran or first responder in your life and just reach out to them sometime this month, check on them, say hi, thank them for their service, especially when you see those people walk around in Publix or wherever you go wearing the military hats saying that they served or they're retired. Feel free to chase them in the aisle and just say thank you for your service. It means a lot to them. I'm very grateful and lucky to have served in such a supportive era of military service. I've been thanked for my service so many times, and it never gets old. However, as we know, those have come before us weren't so lucky and fortunate to have that kind of support. So if you find time in your day to say thank you to a veteran, that'd be amazing. They appreciate it, and I will too. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So for all the proclamations today, we would ask, because there's some going to be on our consent agenda, those desiring photos with their loved ones, their family members, or the commission, stick around. We're going to have a photo op session right after the consent agenda, which won't be too long from now, so thank you very much. Next up will be read by Commissioner Lockhart, the proclamation proclaiming May 27, 2024 as Memorial Day in Seminole County, Florida, countywide. Commissioner?
Commissioners, I would like to move the following proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners affirming May 27th, 2024 as Memorial Day in Seminole County. Whereas on Memorial Day, we pay solemn tribute to those brave Americans who served under the Stars and Stripes and laid down their lives to defend our freedom. And whereas for more than a century, this holiday was known as Decoration Day and originally honored those lost while fighting in the Civil War. And whereas, following America's entry into World War I, Memorial Day evolved to commemorate American military personnel who died in all wars, including World War II, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And whereas, in 1915, after spotting a cluster of poppies, a brigade surgeon was inspired to write the poem In Flanders Field, giving a voice to soldiers who had died in battle and lay buried beneath poppy-covered grounds. The poem initiated a movement to make the poppy a symbol of tribute to all who have died in war and remains an emblem of remembrance to this day. And whereas Congress, in a joint resolution approved May 11, 1950, provided that Memorial Day shall be set aside as a day of prayer for permanent peace and requested that President Truman issue a proclamation calling upon the people of the United States to observe each Memorial Day in that manner. And whereas Monday, May 27th will mark the 154th anniversary of Memorial Day, and whereas more than 1.2 million American soldiers have died in conflicts, and more than 8,000 of these soldiers were from Florida, and whereas today over 1.3 million Americans serve in active military duty, 107,000 of whom are from Florida, while nearly 1 million Americans serve in the reserves and National Guard. And whereas on Memorial Day and every day, the citizens of Seminole County must remember the servicemen and women who sacrificed their lives to ensure our own. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners does hereby recognize May 27th, 2024 as Memorial Day, and be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners requests that at 3 p.m. on Memorial Day, Seminole County residents voluntarily observe in their own way a moment of remembrance and respect, pausing from whatever they are doing to honor our military heroes and their valor. Adopted this 14th day of May, 2024.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, carries unanimous. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Next item on the agenda is going to be the SGTV Award that we're so proud to announce this morning. Our communications team was recognized at the 2024 Anvil Awards in New York City last week. The Anvil set the standard for industry excellence and outstanding performance in public relations. The Silver Annual Award recognized the nation's best strategic public relations campaigns. Our team won 2 Silver Anvils for the following: 2023 Pause and Clause event campaign in 7 days or less, and most effective campaign on a small budget, $5,000 to $10,000 for our 2023 Pause and Clause event.
That's awesome.
Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And
Fantastic.
of course, that's something that is rarely won by government entities.
And it's
So
like an Emmy.
Absolutely, it is, and it's a great PIO team. Thank you all very much. Chris, do you have some words you'd like to say? Oh, wait a minute. The public information guy has nothing to say?
Really, the question is, do you have words you'd like us to say?
Well, that's a whole different,
I got here at the right time.
we could be here for
Just
hours.
start saying the
For
words
the
we're
record,
saying.
Communications Director. Just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to represent the county. It was a great event, and we look forward to having it again next year.
Great work, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate it. Good stuff. And I will tell you that the PIO staff and communication staff have really brought a new capability to the county in communicating to its citizens, which all of us have desired to do for quite so many years, and we appreciate all the diligence you and your staff have brought to communicating and getting messages out to all of our citizens, so thank you again. Next up will be our County Investment Advisor, Mr. Scott McIntyre. I think he's appearing remotely. Do we have him keyed up?
Can you guys hear me?
We can. Welcome, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you. Thank you. I see you guys in June after Memorial Day. So I can't see. You got the screen up?
Bear with us 1 second. We're going to increase the volume and try to get you on the screen.
Okay.
Hey, Scott, can you test it out now?
Yeah. All right, we're good?
Well, we're waiting for the screen to cast.
Maybe those flights from Texas.
Nothing against him, but we can hear what he has to say if we want to without seeing him.
Well, I think the public would like to see it. We all have copies in our agenda. There it is. There we go.
Okay.
Very good, sir.
Fantastic. Okay. And so if we can advance to the first slide. All right. So some major economic things. We get core CPI tomorrow. That's the Consumer Price Index. That is arguably the most important economic indicator that we've seen this year because January, February, and March were too hot. So we get April tomorrow. The Fed met last week. They're confident they're on the right path. They stressed patience. We may have to wait for patience or we may have to wait for tomorrow, but tomorrow is a very, very important day. The labor market appeared to weaken in April. That actually sparked a bit of a rally and pushed bond yields down a bit. The labor market like CPI, has been hot for the most of the year, so it was welcome to see a little bit of relief there. And then finally, GDP growth, economic.
Scott, we've lost you. If you just hold for a second. Is it on our end or his end?
I see he's still connected.
Tim, is Tim here in the audience? Tim, can you get him on the phone? Just let him know that he may be talking, but we're not listening.
Typical government. Let's come back to this.
Yeah, we may come back to this. He is remote, so we could do that. Tell you what, we'll give just a minute to see if we can get that reconnected. If not, we're going to move on. And when you do talk to him, we'll just come back to it after the consent agenda. See if Tim ducks back in here. Okay. If it drops off, we'll let him know that we'll revisit this after consent agenda if it continues to drop out. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell you what, we're going to, Tim, if you just...
Can you hear me? I know this is kind of a workaround, but can you hear me okay?
Scott, it's not a good connection. What we're going to do is, we're going to go ahead and move to our consent agenda while y'all work on that technology, and we'll come back to it after the consent agenda.
Yep,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right, next we're going to move on to our consent agenda items. I will first ask the county attorney to read the rules of public participation.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Florida law provides that members of the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on propositions before the Board of County Commissioners, except when the board is acting on emergency or ministerial matters or conducting a meeting exempt from the requirements of the Sunshine Law. Individuals shall be permitted 3 minutes each for public comment or 6 minutes when the individual is an official representative of a formal association or group. The chairman may modify the maximum time for public comment at his sole discretion when appropriate. Public comments on quasi-judicial or other public hearing items will occur during the board's consideration of those items this afternoon. Public comments on pending procurement matters or on non-agenda items shall not be permitted at this time. Members of the public desiring to make public comment must fill out a speaker form and present the form to staff. Forms are available in the lobby.
Thank you, Ms. Latour. Those forms are yellow if you want to speak, green if you want a written comment. You need to get those to Dominique, the clerk right here at the front, before we open the public comment. We appreciate it very much. Next, we will move to the county manager. Any changes, Mr. County Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No changes to the consent agenda. However, there is just one change to the regular agenda, item number 33. I'd like to pull, and we will be bringing that one back.
So consent agenda remains as is, and item 33 under public hearings will be pulled.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions? Commissioner?
Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda items 4 through 32 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, carries unanimous. Okay, now let's move on to Mr. McIntyre. I assume we had no public input because I didn't see your... Okay, Do we have him now?
I think we're doomed.
I think.
We need to take pictures.
Let's take photos.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hurd's ready.
Can you just get him on the phone and lay it by the microphone?
Give me a number to dial in here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Valiant effort.
All right, let's,
Jeremiah, is it on his end?
okay. So let's do this. Let's just go ahead and scrap that.
Well, we need a motion, right? Are you
Well,
scrapping
I'm
the
not
motion
scrapping
or
it
the
completely.
presentation? Thank you.
To come back maybe later this afternoon.
Sure.
Or if staff will work with Mr. McIntyre, verify that technology is working, give us the double thumbs up. Check it 3 times before you give us the double thumbs up, and then we'll intervene and bring it back in for presentation. Fair enough? If you'll let Mr. McIntyre know that. Fair enough, okay. Our next item up is going to be our work session program. I'm sorry, that's right, let's take a break and get our pictures. For those that got the proclamations, if you'll join us in order down here, we'll get your proclamations delivered.
Hey, Tim, is there a number I can dial in? Perfect, thanks. Scott? Hey, Jeremiah, I'm fine. How are you? Yeah, I think this is on my end. I feel like my headphone is not adequately charged. So is this something I can? Scott McIntyre
is now joining.
That was a rough one, especially leave us all in the cliffhanger. So rates are going to be.
So we got some pineapples for everyone here. How you doing? Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Oh, we got them, we have them. Apparently there was a big wreck, 6. Please don't, turn around. Okay, let's not do that. Thank you all very much. So good to see you. So wonderful to see you. Well, yes, sir. All right, let's get everyone in. The news
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you very much. And listen, people now, so enjoy
We have one more photo. One more photo? But then we
Hey, Scott, can you hear us?
I can hear you. A lot of noise, but I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Hey Scott, can you test it out though?
Yeah. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? We good?
Hey, Lee, check that AC and crank it down about 10 degrees.
That's what I have to do.
Holy mackerel.
Can you hear me okay?
Pardon me?
Can you hear me okay?
It's not the thermostat that's the issue.
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say what my wife usually says?
It's your fault?
So the thermostat is set at 68, but it's at 72, so it's just we're calling hard and not.
Thermostat's at 67, but it says 72.
So it's an undersized unit. It went out on low bid?
Too many people.
We bought it on low bid? Oh, we do?
Where it is.
Well, do we have our investment advisor? I'm told we might.
Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me at all?
Yes, yes.
Let us turn it up. We can hear you. Give us a second to turn the volume up.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Okay, can we get a screen there?
Yes, he's right to my right.
For goodness sakes, okay. Without much further ado, first slide.
Oh boy.
So, and I'm not sure how much you heard before, but tomorrow is Corp CPI. That is the Consumer Price Index, and that's the most important of the economic indicators. Fed met last week. They feel like they're on the right path. They stress patience. Labor market appears to be weakening. GDP growth slowed in the first quarter. That's all good for future inflation with any luck at all. We'll see tomorrow. Next slide. So this is CPI, this is the economic report card, and you can see that we did get a much slower than expected first quarter GDP growth. So we've seen slowing over the course of the last 3 quarters. Whether or not that continues, we don't know, but certainly that slowdown is welcome. Next slide. Investment choices. Lower today, but you can see they're lower than they were the last time we spoke, at least in terms of Treasury yields. They had been elevated, again, as a result of the higher than expected consumer inflation for the previous 3 months. And again, we get April tomorrow, so that is a very, very important number. And going on to the next slide. Kind of where the meat of what we're talking about here is we've been talking with the clerk's office and talking with the folks in budget because there's been a lot of money that's been spent over the course of the last month or two. So it's sort of in a drain period, and what we're looking to do is look at cash flows and ascertain what the cash flows are going to be. Very few maturities happened in April. Obviously, tomorrow is the 15th. We've got 3 maturities and substantial maturities coming up. So there isn't a whole lot of money now. The money has been taken out of liquid funds to be able to pay expenses from the previous months. We're looking at cash flows. We're looking at the market, and we've got a whole lot of maturities coming up. So the recommended purchases are to pause until June to assess cash flows, which is ongoing. Reinvest the Palm term maturities in early June, cash flow permitting. We should have a better idea of the county's cash flows at that point in time. Any monthly expenses that come before, well, of course, tomorrow we have a lot of maturities, but monthly expenses would be paid from those maturities and balances in Florida Prime. And I do believe with all the maturities coming up over the course of next month, by the time we're back in June, we're going to have a lot more to discuss. We'll also have 2 CPI reports that will be revealed, so we'll have a better idea of what's going on with the market. So this is a pause, which seems probably like a real letdown in terms of how long we waited for me to be able to speak. I apologize for that. That's on my side. I know your time's valuable. But if you guys could then, I guess I'm asking for a motion here to approve no investments at this time.
Chairman, I move to approve no investments at this time.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, carries unanimous. Thank you all very much, staff and Mr. McIntyre, for struggling with this technology, and thank you for all those.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for patience. That was on my side. I will see you guys in June. Have a good Memorial Day.
Be well.
Thank you, you as well.
Okay, next we're going to move to our regular agenda, and item 33 has been pulled by the county manager.
Is now exiting.
Item 33 has been pulled by the county manager. That is item 2024-0534. Just an abundance of caution, I want to make sure, is there anybody here that came to speak on item 33? Any speaker forms? No one here for 33. Just want to make sure. Last call, item 33. Very well. We'll move on to our work session portion of the program. This presentation will be Committee on Aging Annual Report. It will be put on by Allison Thal, Community Service Director, and Kelly Welch will be the presenter for Community Health Division Manager. Item 2024-0558.
Hi, good morning. Kelly Welch, Community Health Division Manager with Community Services, and I'm here today to present the Seminole County Committee on Aging Annual Report. And to provide a little bit of history, the Committee on Aging was established 16 years ago. The Seminole County Administrative Code directs the committee to provide an annual report to the board. The committee is made up of 14 community members representing 13 distinct areas, such as local law enforcement, the faith-based community, local senior residents, veterans, healthcare, housing, etc. The committee is an advisory committee whose purpose is to provide input and recommendations to the board regarding senior issues here in Seminole County. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the senior population growth is happening nationwide. The older population in the United States grew rapidly this past decade. Between 2010 and 2020, the population 65 years and over saw the largest and fastest growth in any decade in over 100 years. Florida is the third most populated state for all ages, but is ranked second in the country for the percent of the population that is age 65 or older. senior population in Seminole County has been on the rise for over a decade, with projections showing senior population growth continuing until at least 2028. We are very fortunate to have an active and involved group of individuals who serve as committee members. This slide shows the current members and the areas that they represent. And this slide shows a picture of some of the committee members. We did have some missing that day. In 2023, our wonderful committee members accomplished quite a bit. 10 Committee on Aging meetings were held. The meetings are open to the public, and we consistently have many visitors join the meetings, and we encourage them to share their thoughts and opinions on the topics discussed. This past year, we prioritized increasing the knowledge of our committee members by having educational presentations at 9 of the 10 meetings. The trainings included topics on veteran services, housing, pathways to care, community assistance, and several other presentations regarding resources for seniors and healthcare programs. The committee members have attended several meetings or outreach events to engage with the community and share senior resources. And finally, we tasked the committee members with conducting a senior needs assessment by soliciting input from the areas that they represent. We compiled and prioritized the data to bring you the areas of highest need facing Seminole senior residents. The findings align with several other community assessments, including the most recent Community Health Needs Assessment and the recently completed Community Services Block Grants Needs Assessment. The top identified need was affordable housing, and the second most pressing senior issue was transportation. Other identified senior issues were home repairs, information sharing, food insecurity, mental health services, service agency funding, loneliness and isolation, counterfeit drugs and medication, dementia and memory care, and COVID fears. At a recent meeting, we asked Seminole County Community Development staff to share information regarding several housing projects that are in progress and those planned for the future. Staff were able to answer many questions and increase member awareness of the efforts Seminole County is taking to address ever-present housing concerns. In closing, our recommendations are for our committee members to increase community engagement with their respective areas and the Seminole senior population as a whole. We will continue to host presentations to ensure the committee is able to share resources and information with the senior community. And committee members will assist us in determining high-need locations for community health outreach events. And finally, the committee voted and the majority agreed to focus efforts on transportation needs for senior residents. At our next meeting this Thursday, we will develop a plan to learn more information regarding transportation services currently available to our senior residents and engage MetroPlan and/or links to present at one of our upcoming committee meetings. And we hope that those entities will be able to answer the committee's questions and discuss unmet senior transportation needs. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Welch. Any inquiries on behalf of the board? Commissioner Lockhart.
This is not directed at you.
Okay.
I always like to give that qualifier. Talking about transportation, immediately, we've been talking about links and what is transit. That's a question that Commissioner Delary has been asking for quite some time. And since the board recently asked that the county look at alternatives to links and transportation, rather than just having links come and give a presentation to the Committee on Aging, perhaps we could do a more holistic, deeper dive with our staff that's already looking into the links options and fold this in, because I think clearly we are spending tens of millions of dollars on transportation for our citizens. And if we still have seniors who feel like that is their second greatest challenge in our community, we're not doing something right. So I would love to see that be a primary focus moving forward. And I don't see Christian. Christian Swenson.
He's on a call right now for me.
Gotcha. But I would love the data that Christian and John Slott and Tim Jex were able to pull together and recently and present to me, which I know will be presented to all of you shortly, just is eye-popping. So the timing on this could not be better for our seniors. So thank you.
Commissioner Herr, then Commissioner Delary.
I think the term that you used, Commissioner Lockhart, was rather than, and I think it's in addition to. I think that there's opportunities to learn about what's happening currently before you can start to think about what we need to change. And I will tell, I mean, I fall into this category, I'm very proud of my age. I've sat on the Lynx board, and I don't know that I could catch a bus and get somewhere without a real serious study in advance to make sure that I didn't get stranded somewhere. And I grew up as a public transit taker, so I think there's a learning opportunity so that we understand a baseline in addition to looking at the bigger picture of how do we improve this go forward.
So I said instead of intentionally.
I know, that's why I'm opening the discussion. Like,
Okay.
I read that into what you
Okay.
just said.
So from your perspective, it may be in addition to, and from my perspective, I'm willing to look at it instead of, but both options should be on the table.
Commissioner Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree, both of you are right. Instead of and in lieu of, you're spot on. But I think what staff is talking to us about now is aging population. So when we do this, we should be looking at the aging population pockets, because there are pockets of them around the county and where they want to go, because they'll have different needs than different age groups.
Right.
You know, because I can tell you, when my dad was here, it was all about doctor's visits and about not missing a doctor's visit. And if you missed a doctor's visit, you know, now you're pleading with them to fit you in next week, if not next month. So I'm not trying to be a concierge appointment person, but we need to understand where those pockets are, where they're trying to go. So when we do this, we should be looking at that as well.
Agreed.
But just both of you are spot on.
Commissioner Hurd, you want to respond?
No, I want to add.
Okay.
I would also, I think that we have a responsibility for education. Uber and Lyft are fabulous. And when you live in a densely populated area, the cost to Uber is very inexpensive. It's relatively safe, it's easy to do, but it's intimidating. It's wildly intimidating. And so if we're looking for educational opportunities, I think there's opportunities out there for educating around what is available commercially for transit. It's not just a taxi cab that's going to cost you $100 anymore. It's an Uber that's going to cost you 10. And that will create a freedom that is, you know, wildly beyond what can be expected, but it is a very difficult conversation because we have it in our own household with a 90-year-old. Like, why would I get in a car with somebody I don't know? Right? She taught us not to do that for all the years of our life, and now we're saying, no, you should do it. Good luck. So I think there are opportunities to educate around the new wave of transportation assistance that is beyond public assistance.
And Commissioner Laurie again.
And again, let me expound on that, because I think you're going down the right path, I think we all are, where there are grant money out there through MetroPlan to help assist us and the general public with that, with some type of ride share combination, whatever that is. We just need to explore it.
So I will weigh in on a couple of those items, and well covered thus far. I will tell you that I don't know where the educational part is for those elderly. My mother is a prime example. She will not take an Uber. I don't care if it's the middle of the day, 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the airport, she just will not do it. I mean, even to the point I've offered to buy her, you know, an annual pass to do whatever she needs to do. And that age and generation, for whatever reason, they don't trust it. And ironically, she's been in an Uber with me and my family. So I'm not sure how you educate, you know, how they get there. And I think it's more of the fear of being stranded, or the fear of not being able to get to where they think they're going to go and having that certainty. As far as holistically looking at this transportation need, I agree we need to understand what the seniors, real true concerns are and narrow those down. What I will tell you is that, and I think I've communicated with you as well as we've had conversation when Lynx has come to present here, there has got to be a more efficient, cost-effective way to move the citizens of Seminole County in and around this county and the region. I don't know that that's the pure answer, at the end of the day, the whole answer, but if you look at the actual numbers of people, not number of trips, but actual number of residents that we're actually moving, the cost per resident we're moving, and the cost to even, by example, deploy our own 2 or 3 vehicle shuttle with employees to do those kinds of things. On the paratransit side, I will tell you we will come out on top and provide better service. But that's a whole nother conversation, and I think that's Commissioner Lockhart's point, is we really need to drill down on this and understand what our options are. Right. There may be other options in the region that we will possibly be able to partner with, but I think that discussion needs to happen sooner rather than later based on the amount of money we're spending. Right. Agreed.
And if I could just add and agree with both of you, Commissioner Lockhart's already in it. With her, what was it, your third meeting or second meeting at Lynx?
Yes, they're very happy to have you.
Yeah, so she has asked staff, which we had done and provided her some, just as you said, Mr. Chairman, some detail drilled down to the numbers. And it's pretty eye-opening on some of the stuff that we're finding about these fixed routes and the lack of passengers on them and the amount of subsidy that we're looking at on these routes. So anyway, we're going through that. Commissioner Lockhart, as you know, as I sent you an update yesterday, has asked me to meet with each of you all and share that information as well as other options, and so you will be scheduled with that very soon.
Great, very good. Anything more on this topic?
One thing, and you will see Lynx will be coming to us in June at our budget work sessions on the 18th. So
Well, just give them a heads up and tell them, make sure they've got everything scheduled and ready to present in appropriate Seminole County fashion. Thank you. Anything else?
Good job.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, next item up is item 2024-0645, item 35, Tourism Improvement District. Guy Cunye, Tourism and Economic Development Administrator, and Rick Durr, Parks and Recreation Director. Guy, welcome.
Thank you. For the record, Guy Cunha, Administrator, Economic Development and Tourism. Before we start off, I want to recognize our team that showed up, our internal team, of course, staff, the hoteliers, the Tourist Development Council members, Central Florida Hotel Lodging Association, Greater Orlando Sports Commission, Seminole State College, Seminole County Public Schools, Career Source Central Florida, Sanford International Airport, and all our other tourism partners. One of the things that we're going to discuss throughout this presentation is we have thousands of rooms present, and we also have hundreds of jobs currently that are being affected by this presentation.
And Guy, do you suspect you're going to have a lot of speakers?
I would say 5 to 8,
So
possibly.
let's make sure if you're going to speak, you fill one of these out, make sure you get it to the clerk right here at the front, so we make sure we've got it. Thank you all very much. Go ahead.
So partnering throughout this presentation, we're going to have Rick Durr, our Director of Parks and Recreation, and also our Sports Tourism Director, Danny Trossa, will be jumping in. And also excuse me for sports references that we're going to go throughout this presentation. I'm sorry, I was a former coach, so I get into coach speak very quickly. But as we start off here, we'll review our present state, look at some future opportunities, discuss what is a tourism improvement district and how does it fit our current model, and then we'll even take a look into what the future can hold for the tourism improvement district if it were to be enacted. So this is a continuation from May 9th, 2023 tourism work session when we were before you. Some of the 3 key points that we took from that work session is explore our present state of travel demand, what would forecasts look like with and without an indoor complex, refine the specs of a possible indoor complex that we discussed, and explore a TID formation and what that funding model can look like. Our next slide here, we're going to discuss research. There's going to be a bunch of research being thrown at you. We want to take a quick review here. You'll see Smith Travel Research referenced as STR. This is your hotel research. Zardico is the sports facilities visitor data, so this will be both drive and overnight visitors. Hunden Strategic Partners was the indoor complex feasibility study. Destinations International is who we use for our event impact calculator. Downs and St. Germain conducted our most comprehensive and latest visitor study, and also we worked with them on a visitor eco-impact analysis with all these research organizations consolidated. And of course, Civitas Advisors, who's been our subject matter expert when it comes to tourism improvement district. So according to our latest visitor study, we're seeing an economic impact of over $1.2 billion. We're also looking at tourism-supported jobs above 11,000, almost 12,000. When we look at our top 5 job markets within the county, tourism accounts for over 20%. With accommodations and retail being 2 out of the top 5. And we're looking at tourism wages over $363 million. So what does this mean? We took a deeper dive into using Smith Travel Research, specifically hotel numbers. We see overall the plateau effect that we discussed, plus minus 3%, but our visitor demand when discussing weekend versus weekday is vastly different. I would point out the third column, revenue per available room, RevPAR, plus or minus RevPAR is the indicator most closely aligned to a tourist development tax. It accounts for occupancy and average daily rate. So when we look at weekday, we see down in occupancy there, we're looking at a larger decline year over year, and these are record highs that we're comparing to, larger decline year over year than we see weekend. So then what can be seen, the negative side of that is, well, are we wholesaling the weekends? Is average daily rate plummeting on the weekend and that's leading to occupancy increase? That is not the case. We see our average daily rate is vastly superior, vastly higher to our weekday rate. So we have room to grow on the weekday to help our hoteliers. And that's when we'll look at this consistent plateau stabilization effect from the record highs of last year. So when we benchmark, what does that mean? When we look at the other submarkets in our area, Orange, of course, is a major market. We are the submarkets. We lead when it comes to occupancy. So our occupancy, mainly driven by weekend demand, keeps us at that pole position. And then from an average daily rate, we had the most room to grow. So when we look at our record tourist development tax collections from last year, it was mainly due to that bar right there showing the highest average daily rate. So we had a very strong occupancy last fiscal year, but we had a record high average daily rate. Even with that record high average daily rate, we were still the most affordable option in the region. So we tied into Zardico. Let's dive even further into the weekends and said, Zardico, can you run a report for our sports facilities and bring back our top 3 analysis as it pertains to overnight visitors? Who's staying in the hotels? So they have over 100 points of interest within Seminole County. They ran the report from October 2022 to September 2023, and that sample size was over 23,900, and they came back with these 3 indicators. The top one that we want to look at is 42% of the visitors, and they look at drive and overnight, 42% of the visitors to our sports facilities stayed in accommodations. That's 78% higher than any other average visitor to any of the 100-plus points of interest throughout the county. Now I'd like to invite Danny to speak on some of our numbers, our indicators that we had for our tournaments at the sports complex and all the other complexes.
Thank you, Guy. For the record, Danny Trossett, Director of Sports Tourism. It's hard to believe we just celebrated our 8th anniversary since the Boomba Sports Complex was opened. So 8 years ago, we hosted our first event, and since opening in May of 2016, the Boomba Sports Complex has become one of the top youth sports complexes in the country. And a lot of thanks goes to this commission, to the county leaders who had the vision and foresight to build this type of facility. I'd be remiss if I also didn't thank all of our partners, Greater Orlando Sports Commission, our hoteliers, our Tourist Development Council, our Parks and Recreation staff. It is a total team effort to be able to put together a successful facility like the Boomba Sports Complex. The numbers speak for themselves. As you can see on this slide, the Boomba Sports Complex has far exceeded our economic impact pro forma projections. As a matter of fact, we exceeded the year 5 economic impact pro forma projection and only our second full year of operation. So from fiscal year 15-16 to fiscal year 22-23, in 7.5 years, we've hosted over 400 events, over 22,000 teams, 965,000 visitors, 150,000 room nights, and over $214 million in economic impact. For fiscal year 23-24, we are projecting to exceed $45 million in economic impact for the events hosted at the Boomba Sports Complex. As you can see, the Boomba Sports Complex has been a tremendous success, and we've created a sports tourism venue that is driving economic impact, room nights, and visitation to Seminole County, and has also become a tremendous asset for our local community. This slide right here also indicates all the other venues outside of the Boomba Sports Complex that's generating an economic impact. All other venues include Soldiers Creek Park, which was constructed 1 year after the sports complex in May of 2017, San Lando Park, Sylvan Lake Park, Seminole Softball Complex, Seminole Soccer. In the past 7 years, we've hosted 289 events, over 11,000 teams, 515,000 visitors, 96,000 room nights, and over $102 million in economic impact. This year, for fiscal year 23-24, we're anticipating to drive $22.8 million in economic impact for 40 events. The success of Soldiers Creek has allowed us to host several girls fast pitch softball events. In 2025, we have 48 softball tournaments scheduled for next year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to...
So as Danny touched on it, projections. So we've been partnering with Smith Travel Research on a yearly forecast for over 5 years. So they know us pre-pandemic, post-pandemic as well. Prior to this yearly forecast, we've also been contracted with Smith Travel Research as far back as 2015, 2016. So they understand Seminole County. So during this year's yearly forecast, Smith Travel Research told us, get used to stabilization, get used to this plateau effect as it stands, without any current reinvestment or without any current phenomenon that may deter the market or geopoliticals. We know the tourism market's a little sensitive to all. But we see there the revenue per available room when we're talking about percent change, 2023 actual versus 2024 forecast for the entire year, we're seeing a minimal increase of 0.2%. So what does that mean across the U.S.? Smith Travel Research said, hold on, this is not specific to Seminole County. We're actually seeing the plateau effect, not just within Seminole County, our region, our state, but also within the entire U.S. So a couple of indicators that may break that forecast is if you have an increase of room supply that's been constructed, currently we do not. If you have a market that's mainly for international visitors, that's on the tail end of the recovery. Our market is mainly driven by state and regional drive markets. So, tourist development tax, we expect this year to be our second highest collection ever at $6.5 million. And we used Downs and St. Germain research. We had them put together all the research and create an analysis on a forecast all the way to FY30. So we expect by fiscal year 2030, if there aren't any changes made, to be about 6.9 million. A couple of interesting points of reference here. Fiscal year 2015 was the last fiscal year, full fiscal year, prior to the construction, the completion of the sports complex. From FY15 to FY23, we saw a 48% increase in TDT. Now, if we go, what was the growth rate prior to that? Let's go back 10 years. If we go FY 2005 to FY15, 2005, we collected 3 pennies, so we have to compare the 3 pennies to 3. We started collecting 5 in 2009. So if we go the same 3 pennies from 05 to 15, we saw an increase of 18%. Some of the factors that we look at as future challenges, we know we're seeing the travel demand plateau. We know we are constrained by the amount of tourist development tax that we can collect. We are at 5 pennies. That is our threshold. Legislative uncertainty, we know that every now and again there's conversation on the expansion of the tourist development tax, increased competition throughout the entire region and the state, and also increased risk due to our venue limitations. We're all outdoor venues. So with that, we want to see what can we do to mitigate the risk and to take a deeper dive in. Rick Durr.
Thank you, Guy. For the record, Rick Durr, Director of Parks and Recreation. So you've heard about the economic indicators and what the trends look like there, and you've heard the theme of the plateau effect. Looking at our existing facilities that host all of these tournaments, you're seeing the same type of effect. We're making great use of those facilities. They're getting very, very popular. However, there's really not a lot of places for us to be able to grow into the future. So what you saw back on February 27th when we presented the 10-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan, you saw the same themes. We're pretty much maxed out with the existing facilities that we have. If we're looking to grow and move the needle in collection of tourism development tax, we're very, very limited. We're making really good use of our existing facilities. So looking into the future, one way of doing so is to also make sure that you're acknowledging what got us to today. So in terms of the indoor sports complex, this is not a novel concept. This is something that the county was looking at as far back as 2013, where while we had a pro forma created for what would to become the sports complex, the Booba Sports Complex, we also had an indoor sports complex pro forma done. And in 2014, when the Architecture and Engineering Design Services contract and the Construction Manager at Risk contract were awarded, it included the development of an indoor sports complex. But third on the list behind the Booba Sports Complex and Booba Soldiers Creek Park. As those projects were completed, and Danny mentioned we just had our 8th anniversary of the Booba Sports Complex, as we headed towards that completion, we did an update to the indoor sports complex project. However, at that particular time, we didn't necessarily have the revenue to be able to pay for such an investment as we proceeded forward. So that those thoughts were put on hold at the moment. And then we continue to develop and analyze and track not just the economic impact indicators, but also how are we doing sports facility-wise and what opportunities for growth there could possibly be. So when you talk about the tourism development tax funding right now, in our current fiscal year, that 6.9, for example, that was collected last year, these are some of the commitments that we have that are going to our existing county facilities that make up that entire program. First one on the list is $1.64 million annually to pay the debt service on Booba Sports Complex and Booba Soldiers Creek Park. In addition to that, we've got about $300,000 annually that's paying on our sports lighting. That will sunset in the next 3 years, so we'll have some freeing up of some limited funds. And currently, we're also funding to the tune of about $431,000 in this year's budget for maintenance and other facility upgrades that are needed, especially at some of our older facilities. Last but not least, in our TDT reserves, we've been safeguarding those reserves to be able to pay for what's going to be needed next year, which is the replacement of the artificial turf at the Boomba Sports Complex to the tune of $5.5 million. We discussed previously about the Park System Master Plan that was presented back to you in February. That master plan also identified some ongoing needs at our existing facilities. So that first line, about $14.5 million of identified needs where we just have older facilities that are reaching maturity. Some of those might be the Seminole County softball complex and so forth. We also identified almost $20 million worth of sports facility opportunities. Now, these have been in discussion at various times. We had opportunities for other revenue sources, such as finishing up Hub D at the sports complex to gain two more fields. From something of that nature all the way down to improvements in technology at our existing facilities to make sure that, number one, we're still being competitive in the market and we're staying ahead of our competitors as well. So that $33.8 million right now, as we have identified, we're chasing other revenue sources as well. So this isn't an all-in deal. We've got a number of different ways that we're looking at to help fund those in the future, and we will continue to do so throughout the course of this discussion and this particular program as well, knowing that we do have some needs in our existing facilities moving forward. So going back to the indoor sports complex, now that we've discussed the current state of where we're spending our dollars on and on which facilities, we revisited this concept back in 2017 after the pro forma was finished and basically found that the market had changed even in that short amount of time. What we had done in the pro forma originally was about a 90,000 square foot facility. Over that time, these are just 4 examples of other indoor complexes that opened between 2014 and 2017, and they were growing them a little bit bigger than that. So these were all in about the range of about 120,000 square feet to maybe 140,000 square feet, all of them moving forward. Now, one of the facilities that we came across back in 2017 when we did look at this again was Lake Point Indoor Sports Facility near Atlanta, Georgia. Some of these particular concepts behind the design and construction of this facility were in a little bit better alignment with some of the conversations we were having back in 2017 about what type of facility we would look for. So we were at least able to pull a lot of real-world information, including the design of this project, to help inform future decisions that were to be made by the board. Overall speaking, not just in the 2017 study, but also in last year's tourism work session, we really looked at opening up the opportunity for other sports markets which we currently are not participating in. These are all indoor concepts. These are all places that would need a home because we do not have the facilities to be able to host these now. So that goes from everything from larger basketball tournaments down to the ability to have graduations and some larger special events at a larger facility as we move forward. So back in May of last year, we discussed the opportunity that potentially developed the Moore Station Fields project, which is currently owned by the county, which is right down the street on Lake Mary Boulevard from the Boomba Sports Complex. You also saw this sketch a year ago, and the responses that we had at that particular time were, right off the bat, too small. This does not check all the boxes that we're looking for, so can we look at maybe a different concept and how to potentially enlarge that? So as we went back, we took a look at that 2017 update that we had done and said, this starts to check off a lot of the boxes that were discussed last year in the tourism work session, with the exception of, on the top of that right-hand column, looking at a parking deck and a number of other features that could be potentially located at this particular facility. We also ran a new check, and the question is, number one is this the type of mix that we're looking for? Number one, will it fit on the site that we have? And number two, what's the range in today's dollars in terms of potential cost estimates? So the range that we had run working with contractors here locally were somewhere between, based on all the bells and whistles that you put into the development, somewhere between $66 million and about $100 million all in. That includes the parking deck moving forward. So we needed a new sketch. So we took a look at that, the 28-acre site at Moore Station. We looked at the indoor complex at about 172,000+ square feet, as well as a potential parking deck. And you'll notice right away, number one, it fits on the property. So that was our first check mark. Are we still talking to live within the bounds of the property that we own? Secondly, it does leave about 8 acres worth of green space or flexible development space or whatever you might want to call this. The bottom line, however, is we needed to run a check on both the financial investment that would be required for a facility of this type, as well as does it fit on our current site. And the good news on those two fronts is, yes, check mark on both of those. We're not, just to be clear, we're not asking for any kind of decision to be made on a particular site plan today. This was a check mark for us. This is conceptual in nature, and hopefully as we move forward with the program, this will devolve into a whole lot of hard work that's going to be required to work with the board on nailing down the exact design development program and exactly what this might look like. So with that, I'm going to turn it right back over to Guy. Or Danny.
Thank you, Rick. So this was the feasibility study that was done by Hunden Strategic Partners, and this slide right here basically talks about what are the projected total number of room nights that the indoor sports complex could generate. And as you can see, by year 5, we get just shy of 30,000 hotel rooms. So to put that in perspective, I like to call this a Boomba 2.0. Because it is about the same amount of room nights the Boomba Sports Complex generates on an annual basis. So for the hotels, this would double our demand. So from a hotel perspective, it certainly it provides a very appealing case for the amount of room nights that would be generated on an annual basis. The next slide, just economic impact, net new spending. As you can see, by year 5, we're at $22.5 million. And by year 30, we're at $47.2 million. So again, very similar numbers to what the Boomba Sports Complex generates on an annual basis. And that's it. I'm going to turn it over back to Guy.
So we worked with Downs and St. Germain and said, okay, we have all this information, but what does it mean to out-of-county visitors? So what would it look like, since they did the forecast, what would it look like if we did not move forward with a capital project versus if we did with a project similar to the indoor complex? So we're going to dive into these next 3 charts talking about the eco impact, visitors, and room nights. So the blue bar graph indicates our current trend without any further investment. We see here by year 5, our economic impact of out-of-county visitors specifically, a bit over $30 million in economic impact. If we were to make that investment currently, as the demand numbers indicate, we're looking at $64.5 million in economic impact. Now we look at visitors. Year 5, bit over 67,000 visitors on our current trajectory. Year 5, if there was an investment of this magnitude, 152,833 visitors, which is projected to equate to over 85,000 room nights, an increase from the current forecast of 42,305. So, as we move on to the agenda, we know this is fantastic, but how are we going to fund it? One of the funding models that was discussed last year that we want to take a deeper dive into is the Tourism Improvement District. So when we look at Tourism Improvement District, the overall summary is it's a tool to supplement current tourism funding on specific projects or programs that are mutually agreed upon. So this is a true public-private partnership. So today, later on today, we will solely be discussing the procedural portion of that. Some of the big points that we look at that will be discussed on the procedural side, the assessment would be through the hoteliers. There is not, in effect, 2 residents there. It has been shown over the 200+ tourism improvement districts in the entire nation to provide for community growth using visitor income. And like we discussed, it is a true public-private partnership for a long-term supplemental revenue source. What is it supplementing? Our tourist development tax, outside of the sports facilities, maintenance, upgrades, all the funding, the debt service that's there, here's some of the main 4 points that tourist development tax also funds in Seminole County. We know we fund the Central Florida Zoo on a yearly grant. We've been doing so for upwards of $3 million, and they've been prosperous because of it. We have our Main Street grant program that now funds 2 main streets in Seminole County. Our marketing programs, that also has an agency of record, and our internal staff that's done a great job at attracting over 2 million visitors, and our records that we're seeing both on our website analytics and our social media analytics, and also the sports tourism business development side, which also includes the marketing that Danny showed. It's over $300 million in economic impact. So we would add the TID to supplement this current effort. And now let's get into some details regarding TID. So today, the only vote later on today will be for the procedural ordinance. That is the sole vote. This will establish the guidelines for us to move forward. Some of the highlights of the guidelines can be seen there. A board advisory council will be established. There are some safeguards that are put in place, and this would have to not only be approved by the hoteliers through petition, but then come back to the board for approval. So checks and balances, there is not one side that can value over the other. So this is what we've done since May 2023. We've determined some of the, we've determined the legal parameters for the procedural ordinance that'll come before you today. Our outreach efforts and consensus building amongst the hoteliers, what is it that they would like for a possible district plan to look like. So we kind of have a base to start from. Our county review of the procedural ordinance, working with the county attorney's office with Kate, has been phenomenal. Civitas, Kate, and our internal staff have been working to draft the ordinance that would be best for Seminole County. And then the next steps would be for the procedural ordinance later on today. So step 2, this is what could be in the future. This will not be voted on today. This is step 2, okay? So we can possibly look at a district plan that would need 50% of the rooms to approve through petition, and these qualified rooms are hoteliers above, hotels above 60 rooms within the county. These are the hotels that we can track the benefit of sports tourism going to, the room nights going to. They're staying mainly at these type of hotels. 3-step process upon approval. The tourism business, which would be the hotels, would pay an assessment that they agree upon, collected by the government, and then managed by the Destination Management Organization, or DMO, which in Seminole County is part of the county manager's office. And in a perfect world, what could the timeline in the future look like? Caveat, perfect world. So if the procedural ordinance is passed today, we will then take all our staff and our hoteliers and the association, and we will begin a petition drive for what a district plan could look like. Once we reach that threshold, we will then be bringing that back to the Board of County Commissioners for a resolution. What we expect, and again, this is perfect case scenario, the assessment effective date could possibly be in January 2025. So in a perfect case scenario, which is not voted on later on today, what we can look at is collecting this assessment in February 2025 for the month of January, similarly to what is done currently. And with that, I want to open up the floor for discussion and questions.
Okay, any questions from the board? Commissioner Herr.
I'd just like to hear it out loud again, that this is not requiring the local residents to invest in the plan.
This is not requiring the local residents to invest in the plan.
And for future discussions, not for today, but for future discussions, I do think that we need to add 2 additional components for consideration. And that is any impact to local traffic and potential infrastructure investments that we may be required to make in order to move people around, including some of our existing facilities. And then, in relation to the conversation earlier today, perhaps we don't need to move them all around in an individual car. Perhaps we need to figure out whether there's a transportation investment that we make locally that shuttles folks around to the facilities that are frequented by these residents. The good news for Seminole County is that our geography is relatively tight, and so running a shuttle is probably rather effective. I would just like to point out that the last time we had this discussion, we went pretty far down the rabbit hole around interior decorating the indoor facility that we were going to have, and I'd like to caution us not to do that. I heard you loud and clear. That is not what we're here discussing today. What we're here discussing today is the procedural ordinance for the formation of the TID so that all of that can come into play if the 50% is met and with the work that's done by the folks that are here. That's it.
Anyone else?
I want to hear from any public, and then I might have comments.
Okay, sure. Commissioner Delory?
I know Commissioner Hurd spoke about this, but this is not a tax on our residents. It's the hoteliers taxing themselves.
It would be an assessment, but yes, sir, in the spirit of it, yes.
So this is not a tax on our residents, just an assessment of the hoteliers.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
An assessment on the visitors to those hotels, not themselves. Right.
Yeah, so the hoteliers will have the opportunity on how they will remit. They all will be assessed at a flat rate per available room per night.
Got it.
If passed, by the way, if passed.
50%.
Yeah.
Well, my input is go big or go home, so we'll leave it at that. So we have any speakers here today?
Yes, sir.
You'll call them in numbers of 3 and have them line up, please.
First is Jacqueline Lorigan, Dwayne Windjam, and Bruce Squarlow.
And when you all come up, if you'd be kind enough, just give us your name and your actual address for the record.
Good morning, Jacqueline Lorigan, for the record, 2467 Waving Moss Way, Winter Park, Florida, 32792. Good morning, I'm Jacqueline Lorigan. I am the general manager at the Hilton in Altamont Springs. We have 309 rooms. I have been employed with this Hilton Hotel for 21 years. I have lived in Seminole County for over 26 years. My children attend Seminole County schools and very active in the community, as well as doing cheerleading and competitive cheer, which all of these big events are outside of the county. Because Seminole County does not have a facility in place for these type of events currently, we are spending money to support other counties other than our own. We have seen that the sports tourism has not only impacted hotels, restaurants, and local businesses, but it's impacted throughout the entire community. Stating some facts for the hotel at Hilton Altamont alone, even during COVID, our hotel closed its doors for 2 months. If it was not for the resilient sports industry to allow us to reopen our doors, it has saved many jobs, and it has kept our hotel alive and has remained stronger than we've ever imagined. This is also an opportunity for the local government to support the tourism industry through no expense policy. I am here to say we support this and hope you do too. This gives the county the opportunity for sports and community events. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Dwayne Windjam, 6 East Parr Street, Orlando, Florida. Mr. Chairman and honorable commissioners, I have the honor of being the general manager of the Embassy Suites Orlando North in Altamont Springs. on beautiful Cranes Roost Lake. By the way, my father started a business in Longwood in the late 1960s, and as it prospered, he moved our family to Altamont Springs. So I am very proud to say that I am a product of Seminole County Schools and Seminole State College. My hotel career started out of college and now spans 41 years, with the majority of it being here in Central Florida. I've also had the privilege to support tourism in our community through organizations such as Experience Kissimmee Board of Directors, Chairman, Osceola Resort Area Council, Downtown Orlando Development Board of Directors, Central Florida Coalition for the Homeless Board of Directors, Second Harvest Food Bank, Central Florida Hotel and Lodging Association Board of Directors, also Board of Directors on the Governmental Affairs and the PAC and PC for the Central Florida Hotel and Lodging Association, and I was also the 2011 Chairman of the Central Florida Hotel and Lodging Association. More recently, I was asked to participate in the Seminole County Tourism Improvement District Task Force. Sports tourism's economic impact to Seminole County, as we've heard, is over $300 million since the construction of the Boom Bust Sports Complex in 2016. Sports tourism has allowed for us to continually fund the Central Florida Zoo, establish multiple Main Street programs, and continue the expansion of the Sanford Airport. Seminole State College has built a hospitality program, and Seminole County Public Schools have developed the first virtual hospitality program in our region. Sports tourism has had a major impact not only in our business but throughout our entire community. In 2023, Seminole County government concluded a Tourism Improvement District feasibility study through Civitas Advisors that was requested by the Tourist Development Council in 2021, and the feasibility study supports the concept that there is a need for an indoor facility to support overnight visitors' demand. A dedicated funding source is needed to cover certain costs to support this idea. The purpose of the TID procedural ordinance is to establish the procedure for the establishment, operation, modification, and dissolution of TIDs within the county, and to ensure that TID assessments conform to all constitutional requirements and are determined and levied in accordance with the procedures set forth in the ordinance. This is not a new concept, as there are over 200 TIDs throughout the United States. This is an opportunity for our local government to support the tourism industry through a no-expense policy decision. The assessment does not affect the residents of Seminole County, and it provides the community growth using visitors. I'm up, right? Income to bolster existing tax revenues. I ask that you approve agenda item number 35 entitled Economic Development to create the procedural ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bruce Squarlow, General Manager of the Orlando Marriott Lake Mary, 1538 Cherry Blossom Terrace in lovely Lake Mary, Florida. Don't go number 3, because I'm going to just say ditto to all that, because it looks like we're all singing off the same page. I think the biggest thing I can bring to this is my personality and my opinion of what you all have done to us. You've successfully taken hotels that were literally crashing 2 years ago when COVID hit to making us successful. We wouldn't have done what we did if it was not for sports tourism, and thank you all for bringing that to us. I think we sat in a meeting about 18 months ago, and one of our general managers of the Hilton left, and we were relishing in the success of the Boom Bust Sports Complex, and he tasked us, and I'll never forget this, what is next? We've got to figure out what is next. We need to continue to build tourism, and that's what I'm here to talk about, and just saying this is the next step. How are we going to continue to fund the zoo? Well, guess what? I've seen when we were funding them $200,000. Since I've been here, we've given them over almost $5 million. That's going to continue, and that could even grow. The beauty of this is it's a self-imposed fee on the hoteliers. So citizens will pay zero. I can guarantee, just as there were naysayers before when the Boomba was coming, including from my company and our ownership, I can tell you, this is going to drive room nights. This is the next step. This is what we need to do. We need your support. I support it. After 22 years and 4 months today, being at the Marriott, and a little more as a resident of Seminole County, I believe it's the right thing to do. This is going to be wonderful for our citizens. When you want to go see your kids at high school, you want to go see an indoor sports venue, we're going to stay in our county. I strongly recommend this. Well, I got time, good. Strongly recommend this. And I look
That
forward
doesn't
to
mean
your
you have to
wisdom
use it.
of moving this forward. Now, with that being said, I am not going to be here because my last day of working at the Marriott is going to be Friday. However, I am confident that our company will support this, and the general manager after me will be involved. And that's speaking from the head of the TDC right now. So I am still the chair of the TDC. I will be turning that over as I lose my position in the hotel, but I will see you in the community. I look forward to being there with you, and please move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. And please enjoy your retirement.
I will.
All right, the next several that you may have, Madam Clerk.
Next three are Sarah Reese, Jason with Greater Orlando Sports Commission, and Steve Fussell.
And with that said, we sure and recognize Ms. Sarah Reese as the Altamont Springs council member from the city of Altamont Springs. Welcome.
Thank you. I have several hats, but for the record, Sarah Reese, 846 Bay Breeze Lane, Altamont Springs, Florida. And as Commissioner Zimbauer said, I am a city commissioner in Altamont, but I'm actually here representing CalNo on the TDC. So, and I'm also a mom and a grandma, and everyone up there that I know personally, and I love all of you, by the way, know I'm a sports person. And between Babe Ruth baseball and the tournaments that we bring, and personally from my sons and grandson that play at Boomba, I'm all about sports and youth, and of course my buddy ball program for special needs. I don't have to reiterate everything everybody's already said. You know the positive side of having moving forward with this project, and I just came to voice my support for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, Jason Siegel, 1865 East Adams in Maitland. Good morning, commissioners, our county manager and staff. Honored to be here today to represent the 119 members of our board, including our Seminole board members, Kurt Esser, Frank Iapola, and John Gillen. I want to just share a couple of thoughts on the opportunity today. Go Sports was founded in 1992, and we've partnered with Seminole County since 1993, driving events into the region. With 31 years of partnership under our belts, thrilled to have recently signed a new 5-year contract extension through 2028 with the county. Some highlights, just to share a little bit of the investment that you've made in our organization and where that has gone in the most recent months. We've seen more than 330 teams and 7,000 participants travel to Seminole County for ECNL boys and girls. On the girls' side, 15 consecutive years of building that relationship back to 2010, and with that success, adding on boys, which was established in 2017, for the last 8 years, just an example of these continuing partnerships that have bared significant and incremental fruit to the county. This May, in a joint effort with Seminole County and Orange County, we're going to host the NCAA Division II Spring Championship Festival, which is going to bring 6 national championships to our community in the same week. 3 of those national championships will be hosted in Seminole County. This event dates back actually to 2004 when Seminole County hosted the festival, and it has become the blueprint for what the NCAA uses on an ongoing basis. So we're thrilled to be bringing them back here 20 years later. We're going to be at Soldiers Creek for softball, and men's and women's tennis is going to be at San Lando Park. And we're really excited to work with the Hilton Embassy Suites and Spring Hill Suites that are going to host both the student athletes, coaches, their families, and also the officials from the NCAA. In 2025, we'll bring the NCAA men's and women's D2 tennis championships back to San Lando Park as a standalone event. And most recently, we just hosted the FHSAA tennis state championships. Over 45 high schools from around the state came to Seminole County to compete. And good news there, we've extended that contract through 2026 with an option for an additional 2 years. All of this to demonstrate a number of the relationships with stakeholders and rights holders that we work in concert with to bring opportunities to the county. And we've had, in preparation for today's meeting, you're going to hear from Steve Bishop with the Florida region of USA Volleyball, conversations with AAU, the FHSAA, some great opportunities for the future. So with that, I know I've run out of time, but we look forward to continuing our support of sports tourism in Seminole County, because we do want to secure our spot as the #1 sports destination in the United States for many years to come. So thank you all.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Steve Fussell.
And who do we have after Mr. Fussell?
After him will be Sean Harold, Amy Kirkland, and Kurt Esser.
Okay, in an interest of being efficient, try not to repeat anything that's already been said by the other speakers.
Got it.
We got it, but you can do this. Anybody that agrees, thumbs up. If you don't agree, thumbs down.
Thanks for the advice. I'll be brief. Good morning, Mr.
Welcome
Chairman.
home.
Yeah, thank you for that. Commissioners, Mr. Clerk, County Manager, and staff. My name is Steve Fussell, for the record. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for the Orlando Sanford International Airport, and I'm also a resident of Seminole County. I reside at 203 Adelaide Boulevard in Altamont Springs. The Orlando Sanford International Airport strongly advocates for the creation of a tourism improvement district within Seminole County with nearly 3 million passengers annually, primarily leisure travelers. TID offers a strategic approach to capturing a greater share of the tourism market. Over the past few years, the airport has expanded and improved our terminal facilities, so we are very well prepared to welcome the passenger increase driven by sports tourism. Our neighbor, Boomba Sports Complex, thrives on sports tourism, and you just saw, Danny just showed you the actuals. Seems like a little over 120,000 annual out-of-county visitors. That's just incredible. TID can help create and enhance synergies between the Orlando Sanford International Airport, Boomba, other potential venues, including the proposed indoor venue also near the airport. With over 500 acres of prime development land, we're attracting a lot of interest from high-tech businesses, including aviation, and aerospace, and these businesses that we meet with are telling us that quality of life is very important to them. It's a prime consideration in their decision to relocate. By creating a more welcome and vibrant visitor experience, we can capture a larger share of the tourism market and generate economic prosperity. This, in turn, attracts these businesses to the Orlando Sanford International Airport, seeking a high quality of life that their workforce, further strengthening the county's economic engine. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Fussell.
Good morning. My name is Sean Gard Harold, 4706 Loring Place, Orlando, Florida. I am the Assistant Superintendent for ePathways in Seminole County Public Schools. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to express our support for an indoor multi-use sports complex. It is with great anticipation and a willingness to partner that I stand before you as a representative of our A-rated school district. In 23-24 school year, SCPS has over 3,100 student enrollments in hospitality and tourism, culinary, business, and/or marketing programs. These students, upon graduation, may be seeking opportunities to further their education at one of our local award-winning post-secondary options, such as Seminole State College or UCF, or enter the workforce directly. The proposed complex provides our high school and college graduates with the local option to apply their industry standard skills within our community while growing our local economy. And speaking of graduation, you know that only a handful of our Seminole County Public Schools graduates from our virtual school and special centers actually walk across the stage within the bounds of Seminole County. The vast majority of SCPS graduates walk across the stage at venues with a capacity for our 700 graduates and their invited guests. Excuse me. At this time, Seminole County has no indoor venue for an event of this size and scope. Likewise, as our graduates celebrate the culmination of their K-12 experience, so too do their families and friends who reside both locally and afar. With nearly 5,000 graduates annually, each receiving 10 tickets for graduation, we realize approximately 50,000 restaurant-going, hotel lodging, potential guests seeking to eat, sleep, and play in our community within a single week. If just 10 to 15% of those graduation attendees are staying in hotels, that's 5,000 to 7,500 heads and beds in Seminole County during just graduation week alone. Finally, my team and I had the opportunity recently to host a career fair for the SCPS and NEAR graduates at the Boomba Sports Complex, and the weather couldn't have been better. But the sunny 78-degree day was nothing compared to the exceptional service provided by the Boomba Sports Complex staff and the phenomenal showing by various departments from Seminole County government. But had the weather not cooperated, none of that would have mattered. As an indoor multi-use sports complex allows us to mitigate these risks and do what we do best, serve our community, rain or shine. The partnership between Seminole County government and Seminole County Public Schools is strong and will only grow stronger with the addition of an indoor multi-use sports complex that could potentially house graduations, career fairs, district sport events, and so much more. Thank you for your forward thinking and your vision for Seminole County. We can't wait to see what the future holds.
Thank you.
Good morning. Amy Kirkland, Seminole State College. My address, 2105 Citrus Cove Drive, Oviedo, Florida. On behalf of Seminole State College, I'm here to offer support of the Tourist Improvement District. And as a partner in the community, we recognize the economic impact that this will have for the county. Keep it short and sweet because of everything that everybody else said as well. And then Kurt Esser, our athletic director, has a few words.
And by the way,
Thank you.
congratulations on your award.
Good morning, everyone. Kurt Esser, Director of Athletics at Seminole State College, 1675 Redwood Grove Terrace, Lake Mary. We are the guinea pig. We have one court. We have no salespeople. We have a limited staff, and we've done 150 days of rentals in the last 10 months. Build it, and they will come. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes,
if I may.
Commissioner.
So in my awesome other volunteer position as a trustee at Seminole State College, I had the opportunity to support building that one court building and realized in hindsight what a huge miss it was that we did not build it larger. There was, we were trying to be fiscally responsible and be conservative and what's the need, let's not overbuild, blah, blah, blah.
Go big or go home.
I own it.
Just
I own
saying.
it. I said, no, it was going to be too big. We didn't want to build it too big, and boy, was I wrong. So lesson learned, won't repeat that again.
Good point. Madam Clerk, any other comments?
We have Steve Bishop, Esteban Saldariaga, Robert Agrusa.
Very good. And I
For the
appreciate.
record, I am not Steve Bishop. Steve Bishop is the USA Volleyball State Director, and he had to leave. He had to catch a flight, but he did submit a letter in support, so I will just give this to the clerk, and you guys can share it. But I just wanted to share one quick paragraph. Florida USA Volleyball has grown to over 20,000 members across the state. For a bit of perspective, in 2006, USAV membership in Florida was around 4,400. 4,400 total members, so they've seen over 350% growth. Steve Bishop and the USA Volleyball team is very excited about this project. There is a lot of indoor volleyball as well as beach volleyball that he would like to discuss with us in the future. So I will submit this letter.
Great. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, County Leadership.
For the record, Esteban Saldarriaga, Seminole County Business Marketing Manager and co-chair of the Seminole County Chamber Economic Development Committee. I will be reading an excerpt from a letter on behalf of Rebecca Arthur, President and CEO of the Chamber, as well as submitting it for the record. We know that tourism grows our economy. That's why we applaud the Commission and our county government for considering this initiative to truly bolster our offerings and give our community the ability to host significantly more visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. Good man.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's a delight to see all of you. Robert Agrusa, President and CEO of the Central Florida Hotel and Lodging Association, 6675 Westwood Boulevard, Orlando, Florida. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here today. As you have heard from all of our speakers here, sports tourism is big business, and it has been big business here for Seminole County, and many of you have reaped the benefits of not only the investment in the Boomba Sports Complex and the other sports complexes, but you've seen the results. All those presentations just backed up a lot of that evidence there. And recently, I know Jason didn't mention this, but we have just been recently, as a region, been named the #1 sports destination in the entire United States. Right. And a lot of that is to do to the partnership here with Seminole County and the growth that we've seen over the last several years. So this is a perfect segue into this conversation about an indoor sports complex. But I just want to give a couple other statistics that may have been shared, but really kind of dive in deep. $4.2 billion in economic impact, including the $300 million in economic impact for sports. That was just in 1 year. That was in 2022. $1.4 billion was paid in wages to employees who work both indirectly and directly within the industry here in Seminole County. 27,000 who have been employed by tourism here in Seminole County, and $318 million in state and local taxes was collected in 2022 to help support our local community here. So tourism has been big business as well here in Seminole County, and we really appreciate the opportunity. And I know we went back and talked about in 2014 when there was a discussion about an indoor sports complex, and obviously, I wasn't around at that time with CFHLA. However, I knew there were several questions that were at that moment. I will tell you today, those questions have been answered, and those questions have been phenomenal to work with the team here at Seminole County and with Guy and Danny and many others about addressing some of those areas that we raised back in 2014. And we believe this public-private partnership is a long-term and stable opportunity to address the economic opportunities for the future while meeting some of the community needs, as you just heard from at Seminole State and others. And since 2021, this feasibility study has shown the tremendous opportunity to significantly increase overnight visitor demand, as well as it allows our TDT funds to continue to do what they are doing, which is driving tourists to our destination through our destination marketing, as well as investing into the sports facilities and fields. And then lastly, as we talk about this, the excess of these potential funds could go back to help drive even more business to our community here. So I want to thank all of our speakers, including many of our hoteliers who showed up here today to share just firsthand experience and not only the impact of tourism and what it has done to their businesses, but also where can we go into the future and what is next. As Bruce mentioned there, we've all been talking about that over the last couple of years, and this is really an amazing opportunity, and I appreciate all of you for the time. Thank you for your interest in this, and we certainly look forward to moving forward with this indoor sports complex. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Good timing.
Last speaker is Gary Carney.
And who is after Mr. Harney, or Carney?
That is the last speaker.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Gary Carney. I'm at 304 Rochelle Avenue here in Sanford. And I definitely stand in support of what you're doing here. I think that it's absolutely terrific that we're investing in sports. And I'd just like to throw in, while the players are here, that you're sitting on property that could absolutely answer all of the questions and more of what we're trying to accomplish here with this indoor sports facility, which I absolutely support. But in terms of being a #1 leader in the United States in terms of sports tourism, I would propose that you start thinking about crew and rowing and what this property here could do for St. Johns River and for our county on a national level, on a world level. We could expand our educational opportunities, adding crew boats to our high schools, our colleges, our state, Seminole County, Sanford, this property that you're sitting on that I know has been in discussion about getting rid of. This is public property, and all these people, I think, can imagine what the universities across the country, what the universities in our state, how the people of Seminole County themselves, how our middle schools, our education could benefit by using the property that we live on for sports tourism, for sports education, for the health and wellness of our citizens, and by adding a Sanford Seminole crew dock in the public property that we have that touches St. John's, and using some of the property that we have that we're sitting in and behind us with the parking lots. Imagine the number of crew boats, of rowing boats, that could be in this area right downtown Sanford, and we could fill that lake with a natural sport that doesn't affect our environment, that doesn't hurt anybody, that just helps everybody. Can you imagine Seminole County fielding an Olympic team, rowing? Can you imagine Central Florida thinking about the Olympics coming up in our future and what a Seminole County crew dock could do? Think about the ones on the rivers in famous cities across the country, where you see crew, you see hundreds of boats and thousands of people lined up on the beautiful riverfront in Sanford to watch people from all over our country coming for a sport that we don't typically talk about. We talk about basketball, we talk about baseball, we talk about volleyball, but let's talk about a sport that will bring international tourism for engineers, for colleges, for people all over the country that are interested in more than just basketball. So that's my 2 cents. I appreciate you listening. Thanks very much.
And by the way, we do have a crew organization, the Evans Crewing property, which is out at Lake Pickett, which is run by University of Central Florida, where there are competitions that take place on a regular basis with colleges throughout the country, as well as colleges and higher education places from all over this world. So thank you very much. Anyone else?
No, sir.
Well, seeing none, is there anything else that the county manager or county attorney have before we go into recess?
No, sir.
Anything else from the commission? Seeing none, we'll be in recess to 1:30. Thank you all for being patient today.